Really tiny.
Last winter, I had a flower
Perfect. Thank you so much.
in my house. I water every day during the winter. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna repot it and put it into a bigger pot. Turns out it was a carrot plant. I was watering.
Oh.
No, they're all like little tiny little ones. Because I thought that like it was like a flower. I'm like, why is it not like budding up on doing anything? So that was a carrot.
Here, that's the second plant. Yeah.
All right. Okay, today is November 19th, 2024. This is the Municipal Truth and Reconciliation Committee for Sioux Lookout, Ontario. And I'm calling the meeting to order. So that's number one. And we are being live streamed or whatever you call that, recorded. So welcome to the meeting. Land acknowledgement, who will say the land acknowledgement?
I'll say it.
Reese,
I do
okay,
the one, even though we're gonna talk about it this meeting.
yeah,
Do the one in our package here in the bold. So as we start our meeting, we acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Lac-Seul First Nation within in communities that we serve in Sioux Lookout, traditionally known as Wanawanagang, meaning Bay of Sandy Beaches, comes from treaties 5 and 9 of the Anishinaabe Nation.
all right, thank you, Reese. I'm wondering about the spelling of that of the name and pronunciation. I guess everybody should be trying to work on it themselves, but I looked at the library spelling that they have outside, and it's one and now gang. So there should be another N-I before that N-A, one and now gang. One and now gang, one now gang. So if you try to say it, that's the way I've always known it to be pronounced too. So you might want to consult with somebody who reads and writes.
That's how Lac-Seul's traditional place name, Matt.
Yeah.
His name's Matt. It's with the NI in there.
Yeah, there's an NI.
Yeah,
There's a little,
I think we
piece
go by
missing.
that. I think we go by that spelling with the
okay,
other place names.
yeah. Okay,
Would you just say it again, so you can capture when you say it?
one noun gang. Yeah, gang. It's more softer than kunk. Yeah. So it would be, I think it would be a G spell.
First time I tried to say it.
Yeah. One noun gang, which means Bay of Sandy Beaches. So it's a nice name. If everybody could learn it, and I like that it's included in the land acknowledgement, the traditional name, because you're acknowledging the language, you're acknowledging the history and yeah, culture, I guess, in a way. Okay, so that's number 2, land acknowledgement. Thank you, Reese, Councilor Reese. Number 3, the agenda, 3A, introduction to amendments to the agenda. And who are you?
Janice.
Who?
Janice 7 on the agenda.
Oh, okay, Janice.
She's the economic development.
Oh, okay.
John,
I was wondering who you were.
Yes, yes.
I can hear it.
Yeah, you can turn it down to just.
Had another member. Sorry, thanks. I'm Darlene. Okay. So introduction of the amendments, anybody?
Would you be helpful? That would be-
The name? Everybody's name, sure. We'll start with,
My name's Jennifer, I'm the candidate. Talk to you a lot about projects. I probably email you at least once a week, so. You're thinking
I'm in-
You again. Jenna Esposito, I was the Economic Development Officer, now the Manager of Strategic Initiatives. I'm Counselor Joan Costa.
okay, all right, great, thank you, everybody. So we don't have any amendments to the agenda? It's all
I
right?
think actually someone had said they wanted to talk about the appointee, or the request for appointees from Waxaw. So
Oh,
I
okay,
added that as
Yeah, yeah.
after the agenda was printed.
number 5 or number 8?
You added it to number 8. Yeah, I can't write it down on mine. So number 8, 8 of 8, 8 of 8. Yes.
Okay. Number 5, 8. Good. Okay, so B, confirmation of the agenda. We need a mover and a seconder. Eileen moves,
Second.
Brent. Brent second. All in favor, show of hands. Yeah, okay, all in favor. Thank you. Number 4, declarations of pecuniary interest. There are none. Okay. Number 5, the adoption of the minutes from October 16th. And I wasn't here. Alana took on the role for the chair. Working group check-in. Coming events.
Just go back for a second.
Mhm.
I thought our cabinet organization was going to be on the agenda. We can add it to it. I wasn't even sure if it was still available, if it was for sale somewhere. Okay, yeah, we can add it.
Yeah, because you had said we discussed that at this meeting.
Cabinet.
Adopt these minutes then? Everyone move?
Move it.
Brent moves. Seconder. Joan? Okay. And then the business arising from the minutes. Any comments about the minutes?
Okay. It's about the standing. Think about this. The other chief was going to be, well, did you do that?
I'm assuming we haven't heard anything back. I do not have that information. I have to talk with the treasurer.
Okay, well, that's how we get out, because there's a board meeting tonight.
They were just under, tad under 300.
Okay, so it's a.
They should have received a bill. Like, I think they've all been billed, have they not? I don't know. I have to. Well, someone asked me a question about one of them, so I was assuming that was during the billing process. So I'm sort of assuming it was the bill.
Okay.
I have to ask the treasurer.
Okay, I'll ask him and see.
And all the information was like who was to be billed for each 20 months forward. So,
Yeah, okay.
and they have the correct address and everything.
So I need. Anything, but I'm sure some of those things will come up again. At some point. So we'll just move on, I guess, to the next item, number 7, delegations, presentations, and committee presentations. We have Jen Esposito regarding funding application and downtown revitalization project. I see a little bit of comments from our last meeting.
So yeah, I would ask to speak to you about the application of the user account. So there's some additional information that my team has included for you, including the application form for that fund. It will need to be submitted by the 31st of the grant. $25,000 available. 75% would be provided upon approval and 25% after the progress completed. And we would have to report to such certificates completed, whatever it was that you have in mind. And the application is really simple. It's those questions. So pretty simple. It did say that it was only available to nonprofits, so we did reach out because municipalities were not listed and we were encouraged to apply, so I did
Like
get,
the committee board.
I asked, I said, it says that it's only available for nonprofits. Would a municipal committee be eligible? Because technically, municipality is also not for profit, so would a committee be eligible? Then they said you were encouraged to apply. Oh, the information I got, so. Yeah, and that's really it. It looks pretty straightforward.
So now this was the paperwork that you provided us with. That in your vision was sort of that you wanted to do the event, is that not correct?
Ben?
Yeah, remember you wanted to do like the online.
Yeah, that would have been to go with the site search, or a place where people could go and pray or spend time like at the beach. I mean, at the beach, the on a bench or something like that. But I mean, the site search hasn't happened yet, and we were thinking that there would be a lot of people that would come down from up north to take part in a commemorative event before they did the site search. So everything's been kind of, um, that was the idea, you know, to have a commemorative event and then to look for monies that would help out with that, you know, construction of a commemorative site. Either plaques with the names. I know there's some names that are already there. And it would lead into the site search because a lot of families would have to come down from up north and, you know, there would have to be counselors there. There would have to be, it would be an event that could be done in a proper way. Spiritually and for elders to be part of it, for the food to be part of it, especially because every time we have a spiritual event, there's always food that we share with our ancestors or those who've gone before, which is really, I mean, appropriate because, you know, there's children that passed on from, you know, like in the residential school where ended up in behind the zone and you know they never got sent, they never made it home. So and then a lot of them are unmarked. So it would have to be done very sensitively and culturally appropriate. So that's what we were thinking about. But if you're gonna apply for it, I apply for this now. I'm not sure how we could take that approach without the lax tool search, you know. Um, the search would have to be led by Laxul, I guess, now, but I mean, we could be part of it, but we wouldn't be able to throw in, you know, a piece of this money unless it happens around that same time next year by the time you spend the end of the monies. I don't know.
But you think it could do?
You could do some kind of memorial. Yeah, I would think. And then,
Because you just have to apply for the money by March 31st, but could the event be, let's say?
afterwards, yeah, it could be.
The end of August or early September.
Yeah,
I don't really have any information on how quick their approvals are, so, you know, theoretically, you wouldn't be able to hold something until after you have the approval, because you have the money, but.
Application will be reviewed within 6 weeks of receipt. And I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean approval, does it?
maybe a couple of months.
That's what they're indicating,
Yeah.
in my experience with funding, I don't, yes, it usually takes longer than what they say, and I don't have any experience with this organization, so I don't know what their timelines are like, if they're actually on track with what they're projecting or not, but it's not typically the case. But yeah, if that's August would give you still enough time. The only issue with these event plannings for these kinds of funds means that you would have to get some of those plans in place. So you're not scrambling once you have the approval, but you couldn't spend any money until you couldn't make a commitment or advertise the event until you had your approval, which might not happen until April or May at best. And then still be ready for August.
Now, is there any way we could find out, like, once you receive the money, you have 1 year to spend it, like, what?
Yes, we completed by March 31st, or probably the previous.
So it's probably good till the next March 31st.
Oh, yeah, it must be by March 31st, 2025, and I just reread it and I was looking at to apply that, but it's, I think this was okay too.
Yeah, so you. The review period would take the 12 weeks from date of receipt of them.
Yeah.
So we got it in like January, earlier the better.
Yeah. Essentially, sooner. But you have to do it by March 31st.
Do you think when it says deadline March 31st, that's not the application, but you think that's?
No, that is, and because of where it was, I read it wrong, right? Your initiative must be complete by March 31st.
So that's also.
You could build something over there. Yeah. When you see that round circular looking thing there, that's probably a fire pit.
Yeah,
I'm not sure where that is, but I know in Kenora, they have some kind of memorial there. We could look online, look for Cecilia Jeffrey.
oh, yeah,
And then you can see there, they have a circular thing, but it's higher and it's built like that and so
Yeah, when at Macintosh.
Yeah.
Macintosh Center.
Macintosh has one, so we should have one somewhere.
yeah. So do you want to be ambitious and grab this money and see if we can do it by March 31st?
Yeah, sure.
At least for the marker, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you could have benches too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to have a sheltered area. It's, I guess you can have shelters over the benches. Because if somebody wants to sit there for a long time, then they can,
We reach out to maybe like, QH and Husky to do like a draft design of it, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
what it
Okay.
could look
We
like.
only have 25.
Oh, yeah. Maybe HTFC, would they be able to do, or could that be part of their Centennial Park design? Incorporate that, or would that
All
be?
those designs that we have were $10,000.
Yeah.
Could have done that myself.
Yeah.
Do you think, yeah, I guess for the design, who do you think we should go with?
Maybe 5.
Mhm. Yeah,
Application done,
yeah.
our parameters.
We can turn that into like another ad hoc working committee. Yeah, that's what. Our best.
Mhm.
Sure. They require votes. The only thing that I would keep in mind, about even if they don't require votes, I didn't know what you guys had in mind, so. But even if they don't, you want to know when you put in your application that you're gonna be able to complete the initiative for 25. Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The budget can still.
And their budget to go over, included there.
You can also get a letter of support from the absolute.
Yeah,
Letter of support from Friendship Center. Some of the major urban organizations here.
And doesn't it have engineering?
We have tech services.
Yeah.
I'd have to double check specifically with engineering, but
Yeah, see if we can.
They would be good too, yeah.
They would chip in. The engineer. Yeah, okay. So,
You could also
Their primary concern is that residential school survivors are.
Include.
Planning and the design process.
Well, we would put them as the planning committee, I guess, hey,
Mhm.
I'll go on it. I'm the first one on it.
Yes, yeah.
But I mean, you could look around and see who else would join, or we could look around and see
Yeah.
who else would join.
And that seems to be what would strengthen your application.
Yeah.
It's just.
Yeah.
Execution.
So the people who form this committee might wanna do a little write-up on themselves, I guess.
Oh, yeah. That's a good
Like a little page, brief write-up,
idea.
who they are, where they went to school. And I don't know.
And so then all this will be due by January of 2025, right? Okay, well, okay,
I'll have
We
to
can
look
say
around.
January.
Yeah, January.
I'll have to look around for, committee. Um, just a brief write-up on, the biography of a person on that committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you can find maybe two other survivors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then I can see what, look into. a couple
Yeah.
partnerships.
I'll look around. Okay.
We're looking at a fire pit, is that what we're? Is that what the? Just so if I reach out to tech services, I want to,
Yeah, well, we,
I wouldn't call it fire. It could be fire, encourage fire.
There would be a,
a certain motions. Maybe some hardscaping, some benches and make it all covered.
Ones I've seen people, like there's a big market,
yeah,
it started with rocks and then people put photos of their.
or they had flowers and things.
You know, where were you thinking of this being?
I don't know, somewhere over there, yeah, near the. I don't know if there's any available tracts of land there. Municipal property, is there?
You're thinking of at the cemetery, at that northern part of the
Yeah,
cemetery?
somewhere around that area, yeah.
We do own that, do we not, the Northern Crooked Cemetery, does anyone know?
It's part of the municipal property, yes.
So there's the north part of the cemetery, and then there are some trees beyond that, and I know that they've just been clearing out the undergrowth in there. But I mean, it might be possible to kind of create a whole area in there. Yeah,
There's space around there, as long as we're not, putting it where they're gonna be searching, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Let's see on
Well,
the-
will they be searching?
When
the graveyard?
to do the
Well, you don't have the funds now, right? So
Yeah, I mean, the cutbacks, the funding,
there's no funds there for searches. Well, not as much money as people thought, right? So,
they,
but I mean, they are actively looking for people to share their stories, right?
yeah.
For that, for the old zone.
I mean, I remember quite a number of years ago, we sort of talk about that in most parts of the cemetery. There was some thought that there were groups in the trees, or in the trees that grown in since the burials.
Mhm.
So it would be important to know how far the burials go. I mean, there is a map of that area, so it would be really good to see what's on the map corresponds to the open ground and if it's not extended into the trees.
I suggest next meeting, we invite a representative to bring children on the mission.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then talk about it, so we build that relationship and partnership.
yeah. Okay, invite
And
them.
then they can provide us information about the search and the land and.
You know who the what's the name, whatever the name is.
Yeah,
Jeremy Capelli, those are names, frequent names I see.
Mhm.
I certainly could, as long as I included contact.
Yeah.
yeah. We can give you, I think I have it on my phone somewhere anyway,
Yeah.
for June.
Jeremy, and then go from there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think with this, commemorative stuff, we can have a information, even a workshop for the town as part of reconciliation to let people know that they can come to the events, have maybe 3 days of events with speakers, keynote speaker each day, and elders, and we could also have crafts people come out and show traditional crafts. So I see cradle boards there. There's a big thing I seen when I went to Ottawa. Oh, that's what I forgot. I was gonna bring that final report for the special interlocutor, but it's heavy. It's really heavy, and I don't know if I should donate it to the library. That way everybody has access to it, but it's also on a diskette. So I haven't loaded the diskette into my computer. I don't know if you could pull it off. Everybody could have a copy of it that way. Okay, that just reminded me of something. But anyway, I would see an event like that where you have these workshops talking about the history of residential schools, getting people from the Pelican to come and talk, people who went to Pelican. Um, invite Indigenous and non-Indigenous people to come. Yeah, do a pre-information about residential schools, to happen before the commemoration stuff takes place. Plaques. We could develop the plaques too. What will they say on them? So as part of the activities for this project, I guess we would have to have a space to have the workshops in, or have it's almost like the Orange Shirt Day stuff, maybe even have organizations come and take part in the workshops leading up to the event. I don't know. What does everybody think of that?
I think that's good. We just sort of talked about that last meeting.
Yeah.
So we have to allocate like almost 2/3 of the money
Yeah,
to the actual hardscape of the memorial, and then, the other third to the event.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that way you're at least spending, that money in another area instead of the commemorative part, with the building of this thing. I don't know how much that would cost, but I think we would have to look at money from other sources as well. Like the, United Church funds and the Anglican funds. They have, monies, for this kind of stuff too, residential school stuff. And I'm not sure where else. Downey Wenjack Fund is another charitable organization type place.
What if you put the application in to have that be the gathering where you have the elders and the speakers and see what people want for a place?
Yeah,
And then maybe when you're looking at other funding and partnerships, you can try and fund that, like the place that they determine that they like from that one. And that you'll have this initiative done by the 31st, because you're gonna have an event that has to have rented space with specific days. And when you consider the cost of space, food for 3 days, elders honorariums, travel, transportation, hotel,
yeah.
is gonna be probably easily spent.
Yeah. Where else we go?
Imagine schools or the events with Far North participation, that with travel, it's well over 100,000. So I'm feeling the disconnect there.
We have to, do the event when we're not paying for people's travel. Possible.
Yeah.
But other partners would find their own travel.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
travel
and we
would
would
have to
do
be
the
on their
event,
own or
yeah.
through their tribal councils,
Yeah.
or through.
I'll
the
admit, when I said travel, I meant like for your elders who are gonna be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, Nan has money for their stuff too. You could ask them and see that they can transport their elders, or certain elders. But they're also been hit by the cutbacks
Yeah.
because we're not traveling anymore. We're doing everything online. I think that's because of the. But I got to go to the special interlocutors report when she released her report in Gatineau. I wanted to go and see what was happening, what was gonna be happening with that. And I asked Nan to cover my travel, so they said they would. And then I got to stay an extra night because I wanted to go and see the Governor General. She had a dinner event for us. She wanted to have dinner with the residential school student survivors. So I stayed and I met her. Yeah, that was nice. The dinner, I don't know about the dinner, but it was just all like hors d'oeuvres and
Oh, yeah.
the chef made indigenous style foods and whatever, but I don't know. It was nice though. I thought I want to stay and meet her and see her and see what she thinks about all the, the findings from the missing and unmarked graves, that special interlocutor, now that she's all done, she's basically told the government, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, and but I didn't really see any reps in the 2 days that within, the conference itself. That's what everybody had said. Where are these reps? How come they're not here listening to us, Anyway, but we'll see.
Do we need a motion to direct staff to fill out this application, or does it just happen?
Well, so I'm wondering, listening to our conversation, we have, this is a big project. It's going to require a lot of
Getting bigger.
timing. Okay, and this grant needs to be paid by March 31st, 2025. Like, that's not realistic. And it's a one-time grant, so I think it'd be better if we just want to do the marker, then sure. But I think if we want to do the bigger thing, I think we should pull it all together, find all those partners, find other funding sources. I'm assuming this. I'm wondering if we can go back and check if this funding is available next year after March, after April 1st.
I don't think that's announced right now.
Yeah, so we don't need one, right? So
Yeah. But that's part of your year end, which is why.
Yeah.
This has to be completed by the end of March. And then just to be
I just-
clear, too,
yeah.
I don't think this is something you can just direct. If you look at the questions, that's what these questions for you. So like provide details of any previous activities in your community, a list of the residential schools that are going to be connected by your project. The involvement of the residential school survivors in the planning and delivery of the project. They're all very specific questions.
Yeah,
related
I
to
think-
what you're doing.
But the planning
So
committee should
they
do
have
that.
to be involved in answering those questions. There's really only one area, a project description, where I might be able to help you tweak that to make sure that it, sounds like it meets the goals of the program. But again, you would have to be pretty involved in detailing what that project looks like when you can kind of figure that out. So there are some funding applications where there's like a pretty heavy business case that needs to be made, and I can do that in behind the scenes to kind of match with what it is that you're saying, but this one is all very focused on just what are you doing? What is it that you're achieving and how are you doing it?
Yeah. The only other place I could think of for funding, and I don't know when their call for funding for organizations take place, is the NIB Trust Fund. We did do a residential school project through NIB Trust, and I think we got 125,000. And we had workshops, and we called it the Kukum and Youth Project, and it was kind of building up the activities and everything built up into a workshop where we had Kukums paired with youth, and actually we ran out of Kukums and we had to make this elderly guy a Kukum for the workshop. Sam. David Ashcombe. Yeah, so anyway, we had a whole bunch of youth come from Pelican and also from the Queen Elizabeth, and they were all there to interview a Kukum about residential schools, and then they presented on that Kukum. So that's, but they did a whole bunch of other activities, a couple of days before that, but anyway, we had drum making and different events like that. But I was thinking, yeah, for the workshop stuff, maybe we'd have to look at that. And also for monies to put into this travel stuff, we could probably do it that way. So I think, this might be a piece of it, the church stuffs, and then that NIB trust might be another project that somebody could take on. I don't know how or who, Friendship Center or, but I mean, a chunk of those monies could go to this too, for this. Oh, and then the other neat thing I saw, when I see cradle boards here, there's a group out of Thunder Bay, Jolene Bannigan's one of them. And when they were at that special interlocutors event, they had a room set aside where people could go in. It was like a quiet room. And they had all these cradle boards in there. They brought over 250 cradle boards, different kinds. Some of them were made out of birch bark, some of them were made out of the traditional wood, and all the different kinds from all across Canada. And they have a whole collection of them, and they had some on the stage. But I mean, that's appropriate for commemorating residential schools, because babies were taken into residential school and they were raised there. And some people were 3-4 years old when they first got taken into the residential schools, so they were just babies themselves. And so that cradle board, I think, is becoming more important exhibit. And they've been asked to take it to different places. I don't know how much they would cost to bring it here as part of the event, but that's another idea.
So specific to this,
Yeah,
like just this one, because the timeline is so
Yeah.
tight. We have to keep it attainable, and like, who's gonna take lead on this? Cause
yeah,
I've got my own funding applications that I'm elbows deep in. So as much as I'd love to help, I know I can't put time into this, maybe afterwards, but like somebody will literally have to take this and work with, and keep it so that when we submit it, it's something we can complete, like,
I think if we can go ahead and the town do this, but we would need a piece of land to do.
Yeah.
Or
even if we just use this money to purchase what the memorial's gonna be. And then later, costly.
Yeah, I think that would
implement
be
it.
my suggestion. So we formed a planning committee. And I think the planning committee with survivors, they're gonna have to be a lead on the application, and maybe one of us committee members can be the lead on filling out the application after all our those discussions, right? I think it's a do the marker this year, and then next year try to find funding for that gathering. Right?
Yeah, and the marker doesn't even need to be.
Doesn't need to be installed
this
yet.
year. We could just use the money to get it made,
plan,
because it's gonna, I would assume it's gonna be like a work of art that some artist is creating. So,
and if you're saying that 10,000 was used for the drafting of the.
yeah, that's the thing, drawings are very expensive, so that's why if we can use this 25,000 to physically get the memorial, what it's
Yeah,
gonna be.
yeah.
And even if we have to store it until we get the funding to do the actual event. You wanna try that? Do you think that's achievable?
Yeah,
Because you would have to meet with the survivors to decide what they want it to be.
Okay.
And then find some artist that does, metal work or whatever, and work with them under $25,000.
Yeah, yeah. It can be done, but I mean.
Put out an RFQ and
Yeah.
set your limit and say, we're inviting artist submissions for whenever you have left for that piece, and then just see what the community brings forward.
I think it'd be a good idea, and then have the survivors choose which one
So should we set up a like ad hoc
Yeah.
committee?
I hope. Planning,
Who wants to be on
Said
it?
she would be.
Or Darlene? Yeah,
yeah,
I'll be in.
I'll be on it too. Yeah,
And Darlene has to find this.
yeah, survivors, other survivors.
yeah, 2
Yeah.
to 3 survivors.
Okay. Okay.
For this particular thing, I suspect, I don't know, I often. The applications are due one sometime in spring or the following year, so the timing probably not, but they're on my.
So do we need a motion to pursue this on creative physical memorial?
Yes, I would say yes.
What should it say? Yeah.
Wording.
That we pursue the grant application in order to purchase or create a physical memorial, which will be implemented at a future event. Up to
And to form a planning committee with the
Yeah.
residential schools, right?
So should we start? Do you want to start?
So we put the motion forward, just, I just want to be clear, just because I have this happen. So when we're wording the motion, so like we've got to follow through. So we do stage 1, so stage 2 comes like, just so the expectations, because I've had projects start and then everybody's like, okay, you know, we did this part, see you later. And then who's like, I just want to make sure when we're being very specific in the motion, that this is what we're gonna do, like,
That this is a stage 1
you know.
and the stage 2 is the event.
So I think just focusing specific to stage 1, then we could do another motion specific to stage 2, because we don't know what's gonna happen with this, because this could, we may not even get the funding for it, right?
And we may not get any artists
So-
give us any contribution either.
Just want to be like realistic,
Yes,
so
yeah.
that we're not,
Yeah,
that's all.
okay, so do we want to start the motion over? Do you want to start it with your?
I don't remember what you said, so.
Just specific to the planning committee
Yeah.
and the grant application for phase 1 of, what are we calling this,
Memorial.
Memorial, yeah.
Yeah.
And so this money will be used to create the physical memorial with consultation with residential school survivors. For our working committee. Did you get all that? Dan?
Yeah. Okay, so I have the motion to create the planning committee in stage 1 of the memorial project to create a physical memorial with consultation of survivors.
And the memorial will be, should we put that it will be like implemented at a later date?
No, I don't think
we need to say that.
We're not
Uh-huh.
even there yet, like, we haven't even got this, I don't
Okay.
think, just baby steps.
Yeah. Okay, so who is doing that motion?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Yeah.
Yes. The end vote.
All in favor?
Yeah. Okay, so we have an idea of where we're going with that.
For that. Okay, so this project came about for these designs almost a year ago now. Yeah, it would be almost a year ago, so, this came about because we had 2010 designs that were done in the downtown revitalization plan for the downtown area, including Front Street and Centennial Park. And they hadn't been updated since 2010. And so when I noted that we were doing some improvements to Front Street as well as bringing the public washroom down to Front or Centennial Park, Then looking at the drawings that we had for Centennial Park and what our future planned use was for it. It included things like an amphitheater, and that design was no longer relevant given the waterfront development that had happened since that was planned. So that made it kind of tricky to know where the best place was to situate the bathroom, just as an example, as well as then the improvements to Front Street. The designs that we had were actually for one-way streets. And I heard that, there had still been a lot of community resistance to implementing the one-way streets. So I was just concerned about us not having updated plans. So that's really what was the motivation behind updating them, is just to make sure that we have a current plan so that as we're doing improvements, we're clear on, where we see the future of our downtown area, and that we're not having to go back and redo any of those work or improvements that we're not getting in the way of future development. And so we went back to HTFC Planning and Design, who had been very involved in that 2008 to 2010 public consultation where the original designs were created. So I just went back to them and asked if we could just work on an update. And so we did some more public consultation to get feedback. Well, initially I went to the business community and asked them questions around what their greatest challenges were and what would support their businesses downtown. And then we looked at that feedback, brought that to our consultants, and they created the designs that are in front of you. So what they really focused on was using crime prevention through design techniques. So proven techniques that deter crime through the design of the space that makes it more usable, more pedestrian friendly, more cyclist friendly, looking at as many ways as they can to make the downtown a vibrant and welcoming space that will encourage more private investment, encourage, different types of businesses to come downtown, and encourage multi-generational participation in events and recreational activities downtown. So the Front Street designs that you see no longer included the one-way street. So I asked them to, can you find a way that we can still have bike lanes without the one-way streets? And this is what they came up with. This Front Street design was adopted by council. It was that for the bike lanes. So the cycling administrative would not be implemented, but the rest of it would be. And so some of these upgrades that include trees. The trees would not be the same trees that we took out. We took out trees that were kind of low shrubs that created spaces for people to hide, so they could actually contribute to crime. And what we would be looking at here would be, trees with high branches that people can't hide under. So it wouldn't be the same trees bringing them back, but it would be something that can provide shade and increase the vibrancy of the downtown area. And then there are pedestrian crosswalks and bump outs. There are so many different entrances, the Front Street area, and I'm sure that you're all familiar that can create quite a bit of congestion. If you imagine having a cycling lane and trying to bring a 5-year-old along there, like that would be pretty terrifying. So those bump outs are just designed to kind of slow that traffic, to give people some warning that we have an entrance there, because most of the entrances we couldn't actually eliminate, which would have been their first preference, but that's not actually possible. So the crosswalks, the bump outs, all of these things are just designed to create that safer, more inviting space where people want to be there that are not there to cause any.
The only concern I have about the bump outs is that I noticed that in some other smaller communities, after a few years with snow clearing, all these bump outs get hit by trucks. They get hit by snow clearing vehicles. And after a few years, they just look, you know what I mean? They don't look so well because the concrete's falling apart because they've been hit by, snow plows and everything. So my concern is that it's going to look nice, then give it 10 years and it's going to not look so nice anymore. That's my only concern about. I like bump outs, but just looking at, I don't want to name names out loud, but some communities that have done bump outs and you look at them now, it's just like all the curbs are falling apart. You know what I mean? So that's my only concern. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking this was a council decision that's already made.
Okay.
So
This is already part of that. It's
Yeah.
like 800 just-
But I'm saying that, but like when it's done, we can maybe have some infrastructure, so that it could be, so like when it does fall apart, it's not gonna just fall apart, then we're just gonna leave it. It's something that, we can rebuild the curb stop when, in the springtime after they've been hit by snow plows, just something that was on my mind when I saw this earlier in the week, and just want to bring that up.
For an example.
I guess it's already been passed, so is it too late? I know, yeah.
This was good. This has already been passed, like we have. We have already.
Well, it's not passed. Okay, everybody, your comments are now in the garbage, kind of thing.
Well, this.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, yeah. Okay.
Our terms of reference is pretty specific, so,
Yeah.
and I don't think it really applies to. We can ensure or just suggest that there's, First Nations input, but I mean, it's Front Street, like it looks good, like, what else?
I think the only thing we talked about, and one of the reasons why I want to have it here was like, that's the Centennial Park space, right? Like, one of the things we're looking at is,
Sorry, would you mind if I first introduce that part? Like I didn't.
yeah,
go
sure,
over yet,
let's go for that,
and
yeah,
maybe-
then we talk about that, yeah.
But yeah, I just haven't, I'd like to give you the background on and where we're at with that, and then I'd be super happy to hear what thoughts that you have based on where we are now. So Centennial Park was really the only space that the consultants had to play with, because there are, contrary to popular belief, there are not very many vacant spaces downtown. There's not a lot of publicly owned spaces that we really have any room to play with. So they really focused on Centennial Park as being the only place that we could invest in to try and bring people to the downtown core and attract multi-generational activity, like I said. So the original design that they created had a lot of elements that were really, two reasons for those. One, well-researched, based on some of the community feedback that we've had so far, based on some of that feedback from 2008 to 2010, but also strategically to try to include different things for different generations. So there's like a space for some card tables and, bocce ball court outside the train station, where there is a roughed out space for a cafe, and near the food truck hookups. So just really trying to give options to start the conversation. So, without having that kind of visual with a bunch of options that we can consider, it can be kind of hard to visualize how could we make effective use of that space. So this was really just meant to be a conversation starter that we could sit down in various settings and do some consultation. To do this kind of consultation properly, it takes a lot more than one person and a long time, and especially to educate the public about crime prevention through design and how this can effectively deter crime and what the purpose is of it. So this was never something that was meant to be immediately implemented. It was meant to start that conversation and kind of give us some guidance around what we might want to do with that space, so that if we're doing something like putting in a public washroom, we know where we don't want to put it, so we don't get in the way of any plans that seem popular. So we put out the survey for feedback and had over 300 responses. So we did get quite a bit of feedback around, what really appealed to people, what didn't appeal to people. And we did an open house to sort of get that idea. And there was so much division on most of these things, where there were a lot of people that were like, that's great. It's so wonderful to see that we're finally going to do something about downtown, and, a splash pad. Wow, that's what I really want to see. We don't have that. To, I would never bring my family downtown. So why would you put any money in downtown? So there was a lot of division there, which Is why I'm saying that, we understand that a lot of consultation would need to occur before we actually got to the point of doing engineering and design and implementation, but this is just a vision to get us started. So when we went back to council then after doing that consultation, what HTFC suggested is that at this stage, what we could look at is just taking a step one, and this phase one implementation is really just kind of clearing that area where those elements could be integrated to create a space that's more accessible and user friendly. So it would include that accessibility ramp, because right now there's stairs, so not everybody can access that space. And, just doing some trees and improvement around the public washroom, so it's a little more aesthetic. And doing that in a cost-effective way where we're not choosing any of those elements that we haven't done enough consultation on. We're not investing in anything that could be vandalized or damaged that we're just going to have to replace. It would just be filled with sod and level with the parking lot. So it does create another space where outdoor events are possible. So you could start to have that incremental approach to trying to bring people downtown to support the local businesses, maybe hosting some farmers markets down there, or doing other activities that would bring people downtown for that purpose of stimulating the economy downtown, and showing people, and that would be part of that education of showing people that you feel safer in numbers. So that's another part that they talk about in crime prevention through design, that if you're a visitor to the community and you go downtown, and the only person who is downtown that you encounter is someone that you feel is intoxicated and doesn't make you feel safe, and that's the only person that's there, you can feel threatened, and you can kind of overestimate the impact of that person on your safety. If you go downtown and that person is still there, but there's also some families and people shopping, it's unlikely that you're going to have that same perception of there being a lack of safety just because there is someone who was intoxicated on the street. So that's really what they had in mind through these designs, and that's where we got. And the direction at this point was just to pursue the cost estimate for implementation of this phase one, just to have an idea of how much it costs, so that if a funding opportunity were to arise, we know if it fits or if it doesn't. And then at that point, it would have to come back to council for implementation of that stage. And while the conversations can continue about what we ultimately want to do in the long term, that consultation isn't being formally moved forward at this time. It's not an active project looking at the implementation of phase two. So that's where we're at. Oh, I'm so sorry.
We're actively trying to get place names, indigenous place names, reintroducing a lot of that to the area. So that was one thing we talked about with this centennial park, because it would be nice to just have some identification that, you're welcome to Sioux, Sioux Lookout, but here's what I was traditionally known as. I think was we were talking about original agriculture. Just having something there to then acknowledging First Nation history there. This is on Maxwell territory. This is traditionally known. What Max people call it was the land in Hogan. It's close and it's their property, but just something that would acknowledge that, right?
But if you look at the original concept, you look at number 14.
Yeah.
Which is over by the public washroom. There was a suggestion that there be some sort of indigenous art incorporated. And that might be, a great place to look at that. Now, if you look at where the washroom actually had to be situated, it wasn't possible to set it back as far as I had hoped. So there isn't as much space in front of that washroom now as we had hoped, just because of how unlevel the ground was. They moved it back as much as they could, but it couldn't be exactly as was in the design. So I'm not sure if there's enough space in the front or, you know, but I mean, that was originally in the concept, but as I said, we're not looking at engineering and drawing of like exactly what that would look like, but I would certainly think that when we got to that point of looking at how we use that space, that this group would be important to work with if we were gonna be moving forward on Indigenous art in that space, or, you know, integrating that in seating area. If you know, agree that that looks like probably the best place for doing something like that. Although I know as well, I don't know if you've seen what Kenora has done with their public washroom as well, but I feel like even on the outside of that washroom, there's an opportunity there, right, of using that space in some way.
Simple.
Mhm.
Simple.
I guess, and then like, what are the next steps for us to do a committee?
At this stage, what's happening for the project is that cost estimate for implementation of phase one.
Mhm.
And that would still need to come back to council to see if we were even implementing phase one. So I would say that, you know, if you were looking at you would be looking at doing something independently, I guess. There's not an active project happening that is aligned. So, you know, if you wanted to look at whether you were using the outside of the washroom, or, you know, if that's a space that you're considering for your commemorative whatever, you know, I mean, that would be something you'd just be looking at on your own to bring to council and.
Okay.
Right? 'Cause there's.
Well, I thought the direction given to council was this to kind of like be not approved, but this design to kind of go through the TRC committee to see if we can, you know, go through this design and everything. So it's just coming back to council regardless of kind of what we say here. You know what I mean? Just.
Well, the only thing that was going to council then was the phase one. So the
Yeah.
phase one is just clearing it and putting in an accessibility ramp. That's what the direction was to. That you were.
Is this the accessibility?
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me, so at the moment, the land is level with the street and then drops off here. Is that still going to be the cross section? Or what's happening here?
So right now there's a retaining wall here right now. And they're suggesting that we relocate those lots that are part of that retaining wall to the back here. So the park would be level with the lot.
The whole park, or just the lower circle?
Just that lower circle.
Yeah.
Would be level with the parking lot, because right now it's so unlevel, it's not really usable.
Yeah. So then when is this coming to council? Like how much time do we have as a committee to, you know, I mean, if you want, because like, I don't want to put a memorial right so the bathroom. That's kind of,
No.
yeah.
No, absolutely.
You know, like, are you
We're
bringing
not
this to
doing any
council?
engineering and design for anything to be implemented as part of this project, right?
Mhm.
So the cost estimate is just looking at leveling it
Mhm.
and the slope.
Yeah. So
Right.
for
So-
phase one, when's that coming to council? Like how much?
It would only be coming to council if we have a suitable funding opportunity. So all that is happening right now is that we're finding out how much it would cost to do those things. And then if a funding opportunity comes about, we'll have that vote on hand, and then it would come to council and we would say, you know, we have this funding
Funding
opportunity.
from, yeah,
And
Okay.
and so it would just depend on if a funding opportunity came up to. But because there isn't engineering and design as part of that to pursue any implementation of any kind of. Whether it's like art or recreation, none of that is being pursued right now. That's why I'm saying, if you were looking at something like that, I would think you would just be looking at that independently. And bringing that forward as a standalone item, because that would require some kind of engineering and design. to look at whatever it is that you're specifically wanting to move forward in that space, right?
We've already finished the consultation.
Yeah,
We're at this is the next step.
Not for the implementation of any investments like this.
Yeah.
That is what we said, we'll need a lot more consultations or implementing any of that. We're not doing any of that right now. Right now, we're just looking at how much does it cost to just prep the area? Because the concerns from the public were pretty strong about anything that we put in that space is only going to get wrecked. So we don't want to put something there to have it vandalized or damaged, and that was the prevalent response from the public was do not make any investments there if it's something that's going to get destroyed.
so I guess as a committee, we're working with what to do from this design, taking this as baseline.
If that were gonna be implemented and
Yeah.
we wouldn't be able to say when it is, because even if we have funding come available, it wouldn't be 100% funding.
No, yeah.
So it would be dependent on council being willing to contribute, at least 50% likely to any type of implementation, and I don't know what kind of costs we're looking at.
Mhm.
So whether or not that would be happening would be dependent on.
Would the-
council's position.
Yeah, would the Centennial Park in the front street, would that come to council as a package, or would this and this be two separate staff reports to come to council?
Front Street.
But wouldn't it accept any costs related to it though, right?
No.
So it does have to come up to council with,
I almost think we're kind of getting out of.
I don't get out of hand, sorry, I'm just confused right now about like,
With the purpose of our.
Yeah. yeah.
Do some sort of thing
Mhm.
with the place name perhaps. So it could be, just
Yeah.
board, maps on either side. Or piece of artwork or both, somewhere in this area, not by the washroom.
It's just a suggestion, but I think before we actually have to have a plan to bring forth and have a discussion, as opposed to this like what we're doing right now is just not really, we're not really having a productive conversation, so.
Well, at least we know where we're at. Before we didn't know where. So I think, appreciate
Because
it.
the names would be great, for sure, like I'm
Yeah.
just saying that, maybe some preparing and planning
When
on our side.
Well,
when you go
we-
to
yeah,
the
yeah.
forks in Winnipeg, they are starting to put Ojibwe names on the doors to the
Yeah.
bathroom area.
Yeah.
And then for here, these things here with the skating, they could put skating,
And that's the
something
thing,
like that, washer.
that's the thing from my point of view is like, those things always happen after the fact, and
Yeah.
that's why we want to talk about it now.
So
We don't want to be part of the.
I think that would be
Let's
our
not
only.
forget.
I think our only input here would be for it to be, in order for it to be, reconciliation is to recognize the languages.
Yeah.
And, for the artwork, and things like that to be seen by people who are passing through on that train. How could they see, samples of some of the artwork, when the train stops there? Some of them get out and walk. But how could they see it visibly from the train if they're just, sitting in the train? And it would be nice for them to see something, a piece of artwork from this area, woodland, native art, or some kind of sculpture. I think that would be the only input from this, as a Truth and Reconciliation Committee to, to have the recognition of Indigenous art or Indigenous style something in this park concept. And I think the only other thing when we do deal with the hard conversations of people, you know, in the town. They're saying that it's gonna be wrecked, you know, and stuff like that, those kind of comments. This is also the place for us to have that conversation, which is fine, that gets brought up because that is a reality of today's, world, what's happening with, some of the homelessness, homeless, I don't even know what the proper term is nowadays. Houselessness. Yeah, unhoused, okay. Situation that's going on in Sioux Lookout, you know, due to, I think a lot of it is due to alcohol and the addictions, drug addictions. Of course, which our people are largely a part of, although there are a few non-Indigenous people that are houseless in this town as well, but yeah, some of the stuff that happens downtown, to me, like the Northern used to be open, so that was a business. And then there were more businesses downtown before, but now it seems like the businesses are happening on Wellington with the Giant Tiger, the Tim's and the, you know, so it seems like the other businesses are starting to pop up in different areas like King Street, but yeah, how do you revitalize downtown? You know, do we turn this into like a Spark Street mall type scenario, you know, 20 years from now? Or so I don't know how much input we can have into it other than the cultural and also with the just wondering where things are gonna go in the future, you know. I mean, would the liquor store have to be moved, you know, say to 5 Mile? You know, would that solve the problem? I don't know, you know.
I think we have a big food store that's going to have liquor in it.
Yeah.
I think the other thing to keep in mind with that feedback is that when that survey went out, it hadn't been long before when the public washroom at Town Beach had just had the fires. And it was pretty front of mind for people, right, of why there was that kind of heightened response.
Yeah.
And also, when you're doing a survey online, you tend to get the most polarized voices,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
When I had these designs at the trade show, for example,
Yeah,
the response there was like 98% very, very positive, and like, when can we do this?
yeah.
Which was drastically different than the proportion of concerns that came up in the online survey, right? So.
And then the only other concern I have is you have the water, what is it? Spray pad, and then you have the skate rink, I guess. And then number 6 is the basketball court. I don't know, it seems like it's all gonna be squished into.
Here people skating, playing basketball,
Yeah.
having fire within 5 feet of each other.
Is there, I don't know, that's,
It's not, and that is why they
Like,
were
it seems like-
really trying to make the most out of a small space, and that's all that we have. So the basketball courts wouldn't be a full court, it was like a one-on-one court. So, you know, it was really, like I said, trying to make sure that at any given time, you're gonna have something that appeals to an age group,
Yeah.
so that you're always having regular activity down there. And then also, you know, when it comes to like the splash pad and the ice rink, it's also sometimes just throwing some things out there to get the conversation started and see
Yeah.
how people feel about that. So the ice rink, the intention there would be that this is a space that's smaller, that's quieter. So if you imagine having young families with toddlers, and the outdoor rink at Third Ave is usually like very hockey dominant. There's, you know, people shooting pucks all the time. So this wouldn't be suitable for hockey, so it would be providing that other space that someone could practice figure skating or learn how to skate, or you could have some seniors out that are not gonna be in that hockey space, so. And it was just an idea of like, you know, seeing what was popular and what wasn't, but.
Both these designs are it drops off from Front Street and it's level.
That's right, yeah. And some of that was present in the 2010 design that had also been adopted. But the 2010 design was really duplicating what we have at the waterfront, so. Yeah, we would otherwise have that design that would be an amphitheater and would be really competing with the downtown area. I mean, the waterfront area. We know we don't want to do that, so.
How it is that I have a young family and I'm not going down there to hang out, but if there's something going on downtown, bring it in there, right? That's happened in the past when we used to do the street dances on Front Street.
In the farmer's market.
Yeah, those were great times to hang out downtown. My kids were playing in the open space there in the park, right? But I wouldn't just go there anytime to go hang out.
Yeah,
That's something that's happening downtown. Right?
But then the street was often closed off for events there. In which case, it seems like if you continued Centennial Park level, then you've got a bigger area to work with. Whereas if we drop
And the parking lot.
separating the two spaces, the street and down below, I don't get this dropping it down piece. To me, it would be better to have the park level with the street, so it's more accessible from the street.
But if you have the parking lot there, and then the green space that you're opening up use of that parking lot for that's too, right? And it's right next to it, all that.
So that's the idea, having like food trucks down there where the hookups are that, yeah, that you're able to like carry into that space, but. I kind of trust the landscape architects on that and that they've, and they looked at all of the topography of what is there, and if you actually go, and I never really noticed until I sent them a whole bunch of pictures that they use. And then when they came up with these designs and explained this, and then I went down and looked at it and I was like, oh, like it's really not very usable the way that
No,
it is. And
we try to use them.
there's pretty limited options and it's such a tiny space, like there's just not much that you can do with it, so.
Yeah, so that's what we had a feast there last year and it was hard to navigate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, the bathroom has been, I would say, as a good incorporation of the area, right? Like the bathroom is a good start, you know what I mean? It's beautiful, it looks nice. I will admit, I've used it myself, it works, it's
Oh,
clean.
we can go
Never
in
had any
there.
issues. We've told people at the LCBO, we don't have a public washroom, but there is one right there. People have used it, and so it is a good, you know what I mean, it's a good first step. Yeah.
You have about a half an hour left. And we have to finish the agenda.
Okay, we're at number 7, so is there any more?
Thank you for your presentation. That's really good.
Sorry that we weren't here to have this conversation earlier, but.
Neither were we, I think so. Neither were we, I think.
Yeah, but I think obviously we'll revisit if we're getting towards the point of looking at what we're gonna implement in that space, then. So we can revisit at that time, and I guess just let me know if you need me to come back and provide any further support on your other initiative, or if you're going to pursue some type of art in that space independent. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Number, we're at number 8 now. Items for discussion, number 1, Standee Working Group check-in.
Say that it's been successfully completed.
Yes, the only one to add now would be the memorial project ad hoc committee.
Yeah.
I think, the thing.
Okay.
But the stairs. These.
Oh, okay, sorry, yeah, the banner, sorry.
Yeah, they're done. They're all completed. Unless someone wants to reach out to us to get one, which we could do quite simple. It would be very easy if anyone wants to have one.
Number two, we'll just move on quickly here. Hybrid meetings were approved by council. URC group. Wondering if someone attend a meeting online that would include a makeup forum. It'd be easier for members to attend a TRC meeting if you get more participation from other groups such as Sioux, et cetera. Anything else with the hybrid meetings?
So for the hybrid meetings, I've included the rules that council has put into place for them.
Okay.
So I just want to let you guys know, if you want to attend by virtual meeting, you're allowed to do that 6 times per calendar year. And I need 24 hours notice after the agenda has gone out. So like somebody tried to give me notice yesterday, that's not enough time for me to set it up. First off, because I've never done it, I don't know how, but second, because it does take a little bit of time to get everybody in the right places for where they need to be. So I tend to send the agenda out a minimum of 1 week ahead of time. So as long as I have that 1 week, we're good. But otherwise, you can just read the rules on your own.
So if members must be electronic, participate electronic, should be allowed to vote only if visibly present, so they have to have the camera on, is what that said.
Yeah, so we haven't done closed sessions, so
No, the people that join meetings, like, they'll never put the camera on, right? So put the camera on.
You have to have your turn on there,
Yeah.
and you have to not be muted. And you have to vote verbally. You can't just put your hand up, you have to say yay or nay.
Yeah.
There's Tom Terry again. Meeting with Tom Terry. So the meeting with him would be around what, educational
Well, we
campaign?
had met with them, so we had.
Traditional names.
Maybe, Eileen, do you wanna? Could you recap on the meeting?
Yeah.
We met with Tom.
Yeah.
And
So who's we? You.
Reese and.
Brent and you.
Brent and I, yeah. So we met with him and it was a good meeting. And we talked about doing some. So that to do the traditional names, adding on and not eliminating what's there now, because that gets people's backs wound up, but adding in the original traditional names where we can, and doing some educational pieces about it ahead of time, or maybe some articles in the bulletin, that kind of thing. Provided us with a really good explanation of why it's so important to reclaim the traditional names, because they say so much about the history and the identity and the connection of people with the land. That's sort of a good starter. And we had thought that we would have another meeting soon with maybe some other people that are familiar with the sort of history of the area, like Renee. I did a lot of work with Sioux on the sort of history of Sioux, so we're going to follow up with another meeting soon.
Yeah, so he shared his proposal he had developed, so he said he was asked to develop a proposal and a work plan. He did that. That project was to officially formally restore official geographic place names. So like going to the actual geographic place names of Canada, Canadian names, right? So I think it was a big project, right? So I think from our point of view, where do we go from here? Like for me, I think it's the gradual steps, right? It's not, maybe at some point we'll get to that point, right? But like it's going to require some public education. It's going to require talking to local communities, right? Lac Sioux, Lake Falls, and possibly Cat Lake if you want to go beyond the boundaries of Sioux Lookout, right? So I think from our point of view, we're limited to just what boundaries of the municipality, right? So we're going to be starting there. What can we explore? How can we start to introduce those names? Maybe it's not fully replacing them. Maybe it's just like adding a name to it, and then officially maybe at another point, officially changing some names, right? Like Frog Rapids, for example, right? Things like that. So he had a proposal, he had a budget, and then it just kind of fell flat from there, right?
So does he have the work done? Like, does he know, like, has he done all the research on what the traditional names are? Or does that need to be done? Like,
Well, that would have to be in partnership with the communities, right? And some of them have done some of that work. Blacksoul has done some of that work.
But the names of Sioux Lookout, like the traditional names around Sioux Lookout, has that information already been collected, or are we still at the information collecting stage?
No, I think he doesn't he have maps with some of the original names on it. I'm pretty certain he has.
Yeah, well, Blacksoul has those. So we have to be protecting with working with those communities, right? Slate Falls might have some in their traditional territory. I don't know how far those will extend, but Blacksoul probably be the best bet that has names in the municipal boundaries, right?
I saw a neat map at one of the events that they had at the Legion. And it had all the traditional names of the area. But I took a picture of it, but I'd have to find it and send it to you. If I could find it, then I mean, the territory goes all the way up to Red Lake, so
Yeah.
you know, for our territory and then towards Sturgeon and that area, you know, so that's quite a long ways. Like it's not just the reserve, you know.
Yeah.
And our people lived all over here and right up to Ear Falls and what's that place called? North of Vermilion.
Red Lake Road.
Wabascang area. Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah, I've seen that map too, but the one I've seen doesn't extend.
I'm sure
beyond
there's-
Sioux Lookout. There's another one there.
Yeah.
The one I've seen does have the name for Sioux Mountain, Frog Rapids, and Sioux Lookout.
yeah. And then the problem now, finding out the names of these places, is that the elders are going
Yeah,
and or gone, and you know, that knowledge is gone.
so I think the next step would probably be working with the community to see where they're at, what they've developed, right? They've done some of this work already. And then going from there, I don't think we're gonna be doing, like I said, like, I don't know, obviously all this in the past, I don't think we're doing more information gathering. Unless we can, but seeing what already exists is what we should do.
Yeah.
So what is our next step then? What's the next step?
I think we said reaching out to their communities, right? And that was
The community to look out or the community council?
Blacksoul.
So
Start with that.
Blacksoul and see what information they have.
Like I only took a small picture of that map. That's not the stem they're talking about. Like it's a huge map.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're still doing that work actually. They're still doing a lot of this, not just the place names, but like how what the areas were used for and whatnot, and finding out where wild rice was harvested and all that.
Mm.
You know, you know what I mean? Like they're still doing a lot of that work. Critical knowledge gathering.
Strap line.
Yeah, exactly.
So what does Tom want from us?
Well, because that's reaching out to them, right? I think
Yeah.
he'd be willing to help out. So, you know,
To partner with us to, sort of get some of those names out into the public.
So then should we, like, do we have to do a motion to direct staff to reach out to Laxel or what? No?
I think that's a committee.
Oh, okay, sorry, yeah.
If that's,
All right,
are you guys okay to do that?
yeah.
So maybe do that and then come to our next meeting and see what we found out. Yeah,
Program,
yeah.
you know, I don't know.
Yeah, like it could just be an information sharing project at first, right?
Yeah.
Here's all the traditional names of these certain areas right in here. Yeah. And then once you start building that knowledge, then like that happened in Thunder Bay with Giwaju with Mount McKay. There wasn't just a drastic change, all of a sudden they changed the name, it was like, oh, I know this name used to be, well, first it was like this Thunder Mountain is the name. The English version, and then it was like, well, you translate that to Giwaju. Now it's accepted, like it took almost 20 years for that. Change, right?
Yeah.
Because it became absorbed by the conscience.
Yeah.
When we first started the committee, we had a division of the 94 recommendations into 4 areas, and I believe there were 4 areas, and it's in that original book that was published on the TRC at the time, and who was members. And then we had subcommittees, and historical subcommittee, that's where Tom was in with the place names, because it is one of the recommendations on the TRC that has to do with traditional place names. So I don't know how we can keep track of all these things unless we put them into the work plan or develop some kind of structure within our committee to look at certain areas, the history or the crafts, or I don't know.
You know, on our work plan, we sort of have the education piece. So
Yeah.
This fall into that education piece.
With the, yeah,
Yeah, so we'll be educating the public on the traditional names. Yeah, so.
Tom indicates it was, one of the, call to action.
yeah.
Yeah, it was about recreating European sovereignty over.
It's
If he's willing to continue to work with us, that'd be great. Yeah.
And I think we have to be very careful about not using the word renaming. I think it needs to be reestablishing traditional names.
Yeah.
If we're not renaming anything, we're just really. Yeah, so we're reestablishing the traditional names, because I think that's what's happened in the public before. It was some survey about renaming things. Well, we're not renaming anything. Those names always existed. They were always there, and they got renamed, and now we want to reestablish the traditional names, reclaiming or reclaim the traditional knowledge.
Acknowledging.
Yeah, so we have to be very careful on how we speak about it, because we're reclaiming the traditional knowledge.
I lived in North Louis School, where Welsh has been outlawed for centuries. And while I was living there, they began adding in the Welsh names to street names and place names. And nobody got offended because they were just adding in the Welsh. Reclaiming the Welsh. Mind you, a couple of years later, there was a big upsurge of Welsh nationalism, people going around thinking about English names.
We still have 5 topics, so we should go.
Well, we should move on.
Yeah.
8, number 4, decal stickers. What is that about? Oh, those things.
These are rough drafts I just made on camera quickly. I want one portrait, one landscape. Again, this is rough draft. Feel free to tear it apart, say whatever you want about it. But what I was thinking was, like the Chamber of Commerce, when you walk into, they have like a thing called 2024 members, something that can be stuck on the door, right? So something that just says, welcome to Sioux Lookout, glad you're here. And then space for syllabics or Roman orthography, or just space for both. Yeah, the space for.
So in the language, one would say welcome to.
Sioux Lookout, yeah.
Would be welcome to Wanina Gan, right? The Bay of Sandy Beaches.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
And just like, we're glad you're
And
here.
then
Yeah. But yeah, no, feel free to tear this apart. It's totally. If we have time.
Yeah, but we
Yeah.
wanted to do, we
Yeah.
sort of want to do this.
With the money, yeah.
So much money.
I think it was like $360.
So that's only about.
Mhm.
And if we spend $150 on that case, we have $180. So I mean, we could produce some.
We could produce some, you know, I mean, to start, like nothing. We'll sell them or give them away.
Well, we could give them away, but if
Yeah.
we needed. Can't see them costing us that much, probably $10 each.
Mhm.
Well, if you directed it, what I could do is after you decide on the case, whatever is left, I can use to order however many I could get
Okay.
with that. I mean, like, we could do that. As long as it's billed before the 24th or the 31st of December, we're good. So I don't even have to have them in hand until, as long as it's billed before.
Oh, okay, okay.
Like, do we like with the landscape design or so the portrait or the landscape design? Both,
So
okay,
that,
Yeah. okay.
I kind of thought that's what we were doing. I thought.
Oh, okay, sorry, yeah, these are just two, yeah, but how do we like do we like the design? Do you want me to change up anything?
But so on this one, it's gonna be in here, it will say welcome to, and it will be the OG Cree name, right? And then it will.
Yeah, and then we're glad you're here in the yellow,
be as well.
probably Ojibwe. Probably. Since that's the language of Lac Seul.
Our areas more Ojibwe than, but I mean, we have lots of people who come through here too, so I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
think it's.
Okay. So are we gonna just let me finish this race and just?
Yeah, sure, yeah, let me finish it, yeah, let me,
And then do we need a motion? We need a motion, don't we? Yeah.
Well,
I'd like to still see the translation and the.
yeah, I can bring it back in December.
Just because this is part of
Slavics,
it.
or no, the translation.
And we have to, if we don't approve it now, what are the
Yeah.
chances of this getting?
Well, you do have the December meeting.
Yeah.
On the 17th, which if you need to, because of Christmas week, you move. And as long as I have it ordered and billed before the 31st, we're good. So if you want.
31st of
that,
December, okay, okay,
Yeah, and I go on vacation on the 20th, so as long as I get it that week.
okay. Okay, do we know anybody who can do Ojibwe syllabics and Roman orthography? He does
Yeah.
Ojibwe, right, Charles Brown?
yeah, it's embarrassing, so.
He does Ojibwe, I need somebody, I know there's somebody,
Kathy Wesley is a language teacher that works for, she used to work for.
Kathy Wesley.
Yeah, and she taught language circles.
Bill Morris too.
Bill Morris.
They're more Ojibwe.
Yeah, Kathy would be great, she's from Lac Seul.
Kathy's from Lac Seul, but she moved away.
Yeah, I don't
And
know,
I'm not sure what dialect she's
she's back in
speaking these
Southeast.
Yeah,
days.
she's in something, yeah.
Do we have, does she have Facebook or any like social media? Is she
It might-
on
yeah.
Facebook? Okay, maybe I'll send her a Facebook.
The only other person they could contact is Lawrence Anderson,
Oh, yeah.
just to get a,
Lawrence
She's a language
Anderson,
teacher too, isn't she?
she's on
a language
Facebook,
teacher.
yeah,
Yeah, she's a language specialist.
Facebook, okay.
yeah,
I'll give them both maybe
Yeah.
just a
yeah.
Facebook poke and just be like, hey,
Just pass it through her and then she'll
Yeah.
let you know if it's
can we do,
more Ojibwe than.
yeah, can we do honorariums for them or should that, is that?
We would have-
Let me double check for sure how much money you have available.
Okay,
Because you've already voted on Captain Oliver to be specifically $200 anytime you're using them.
okay.
And I don't know, I have to look how much money's left for sure, because I feel like I said 3 something, and I think that was with that mistake that we thought was made. So I'm thinking it might actually be 6, and I'm.
Yeah, I think it might.
I don't mind even just buying a Tim Hortons gift card and just
Card,
Yeah.
yeah.
being like $50, thank you for helping me out.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so you're
All
gonna get this all
Yeah.
done.
by December,
Next
okay.
week.
Okay, by the next
Yeah.
meeting.
Pressure's on,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, number 8.5, land acknowledgement.
All right, so I did receive an email asking where we were with land acknowledgement, because at one point I was said, people said, let's take it to council. When I asked for the vote, I only got 2 responses. Or 3 responses, so if you are wanting to for me to bring this to council, to have it turned into the official land acknowledgement for Sioux Lookout, then I need a vote that says that, yes, that's what you want. What I had suggested at the time was that I take it to council with stating that it be used when the person who's doing a land acknowledgement does not have a personal one of their own. Because we wanted to leave the option of someone having a heartfelt one of their own. I don't want to have somebody come in and say, I have a thing to say, and I have to say, no, we have a policy.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah,
what we want to do.
some of those personalized ones are absolutely beautiful.
Yes,
Yes.
we want to leave that open to if someone wants to do one of their own, that they can. If you want to take that, if you want me to take that to council, that's fine. I just need to know out of the multiple versions here and which ones you want and what's the proper spellings.
Yeah, that's the last meeting we had a conversation about the one just potentially revising it, like we don't have to, we could go on the one that's there. I guess that was a couple variation because that was a long. Listening to you guys read the analogy, it's a long sentence. So breaking it up into two, that would be a better idea.
When picking out NAND, because not all the communities are.
Yeah, that was the main thing, right?
Yeah.
Picking up.
Yeah,
reference to
so it
that.
just goes. From 3, 5, and 9 period.
Yeah,
So is it the one that's in bold is the one that you're,
As we start our meeting, we acknowledge we are in the traditional territory of Black Soul First Nation within Treaty 3. And that many of the people and its communities that we serve in Sioux Lookout traditionally known as Onina Gun. Meaning Bay Sandy Beaches comes from Treaty 5 and 9.
okay, and take off the other part,
Yeah.
I just want to ask you.
okay. And you're telling me that the spelling might be incorrect. If someone would, before you leave or email me the correct spelling, I will put that in there.
Whatever.
what do you have for, this is what's on
This is
there.
from the library.
This is what's on the map, that's the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is what's on the sort of public library board, I mean, outside.
Perfect. Thank you.
We need a motion.
Yes, I need a motion to direct me to take it to council. And it will not go to December because council's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
motion that. We bring the, land acknowledgement to council for acceptance, that it becomes the official land acknowledgement for Sioux Lookout unless people have a personalized version.
okay. All right. Moved.
I'll move it. Nine.
You seconded that?
Yeah. Okay.
Six, the terms of reference update. So we have a terms of reference, bylaw to adopt terms of reference for the Sioux Lookout Truth and Reconciliation Committee. And this is a draft of, the purpose, responsibilities, membership. And the changes. 10 from community at large. An appointee. And what else has changed? The forum,
And the 5.2 on the back has changed.
the 5.2.
Where it asked for the budget by December
Oh,
for
yeah.
2016. Annual is required by the treasurer as part of our budgetary process. Bit late, yeah. Were there any other changes that I missed? From my notes, that was all I had. Actually, is there an objection if I attempt to take the land acknowledgement in January? Because that will give us time to get the work done and I can shoot everything. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll give you another chance to get it kind of, make sure, yeah, perfect. If you see anything else, I will have those in mind for January. If you notice anything else, bring it up in December, and then we'll make those adjustments as necessary.
Did we decide on a membership thing there, or does it have to stay as it is?
It does not have to stay as it is. We can propose pretty much anything we would like, because if we ever had, like, we haven't had an end.
I thought we talked about.
We talked about invitations being sent to them to be a member, and then it being up to them, basically. So if they say no, then we'll be able to pull from members of the public rather than just the appointees. That's kind of how I worded it, if that makes sense. And same with the friendship board. Yeah, the whole list of 3 here will allow invitations, and that way, if a representative from Blackstone, for example, doesn't contact something, if they don't want to appoint somebody, they don't have to. Okay.
We'll move on to number 7, draft work plan 2025, work plan.
I think we should postpone that.
I guess we have like 2 minutes, yeah.
Okay,
Okay, can we do the appointee first? I'm looking for direction from everybody to just tell me to contact people with a letter asking for a new appointee, given that the previous appointee was not reelected.
Yeah.
Okay,
okay, yeah.
do you need a motion? Nope, that'll work.
And then number 9, the cabinet.
Yeah, so the cabinet has gone down in price, it's only $150. And the concept is, I know that the rec center is gonna look for like cabinets as a whole, but this would allow us, it's just a small cabinet, it's not very big. It's a small display cabinet about this big. It would allow us to get stuff out of the museum immediately and into the airport. So we could, you know, I'm willing to pick it up, clean it, get it organized. And if we could get a committee and we can figure out what we're gonna put in it. Has the airport been contacted about it? Like, no, they have space and they agreed to it. Is there security for it? No. I don't know anything about this cabinet. It's just the cabinet. Well, does it lock? Does it have? It's the cabinet that, you know, the ones that you buy that have the lock that you, glass door lock. Do the artifacts require that it have, like climate control inside of it? Like for humidity and stuff like that? Cause I know that museum cabinets are different than regular cabinets. So I couldn't tell from the photo if there was, if it needed even like a plug-in. If there's somewhere at the airport that it can go to be plugged in. It probably does have a light in it. If we needed the light, if not, we could remove the light. They're just added on little cabinet lights thing. It's a typical, like a display case with the glass doors that slide, you know, the back slides out. And you put the stuff in and then you lock it.
That's a library.
Yes, exactly like that. Yes. And I mean, we can be mindful that we're picking, because realistically, it's quite small. All of them using things are not going in there. We could be mindful that we're putting things in there that don't need to be, you know, humidity
Well, the
control.
cabinets at the old airport had were just fiberglass, and I think it was just a box, and they were just sitting there.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
Since we're not getting.
Yeah.
old, it's just-
So I would like to see us buy the cabinet for $150. And get a working committee and get something in it before the end of the year. Make some artifacts up in the basement.
Oh, should have asked Ben.
Yeah. But
For sure, that's Ben.
Yes, yes. And I mean, prior to us showing up with it, we will work with Ben.
Yeah.
I'll reach out to Ben, and I mean, if he has no space in his entire airport, I'm sure we can find another home for it. But I'm sure there's space. And the reason of the airport, because people they're so long that they have time to look at artifacts, you know, you're killing time when you're waiting for someone or picking someone up or waiting to fly.
So it's the perfect location. And I mean, it's such a small investment that if we do get the other cabinets, I mean, we could move it somewhere else, you know, and it doesn't need to match because if the cabinets are all in different locations, it's a new point, right? So I'd like to make the motion that we purchase the cabinet for $150 and that we get a working committee and we get it filled between the end of the year and at the year. As long as Ben is in agreement. And I'll move that. So now we need to know who wants to be on the committee. To look at the artifacts.
The library basement, yeah. Spooky, but yeah, it's a little spooky. It's a little dusty too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
Now,
Yeah.
Darlene, would you like to participate in that? Because I think you might have some good input in what we should be showing. Like, we don't even know what the artifacts are. We don't even know what's down there.
It could just be like booklets, you know,
Yeah.
or
No idea. I have no idea.
I mean, Nancy at the library or somebody at the
Well, I
library.
think Brian is quite knowledgeable about it because, yes,
I'll ask her.
yeah, we can invite her. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Brian is very knowledgeable because he lent some artifacts for Truth and Reconciliation Day last year to Sioux School.
Yeah.
So he does have some knowledge of what's down there. So, yeah,
Yes.
okay, so do we need to? No, if you're putting a working committee together, all you need to vote for is for me to spend money. Okay.
Yeah.
all in
And it
favor?
has gone down from $200 to $150, unless he sold it in the last day or so, as long as he hasn't sold.
And then we can just have that on our work plan as something we completed when we
Yeah.
do complete it, just
Yeah.
so we can.
Signing off.
The museum thing will be an
It's something
ongoing thing,
else.
we'd like the museum to be,
Yeah.
you know, everywhere possible.
Yeah.
The airport, the schools, everywhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to throw a wrench in the idea by saying,
Yeah.
just case do this and that.
Yeah.
Those were questions asked of me.
Yes, yes, oh, no, yeah, no, that's the problem. In what, this is how would I, if we need something, we will make it work. If it's a lot, we'll get it. We don't like to get it like it needs. We'll make it happen.
And work plan, update on work completed or in progress. We have a copy of the draft work plan, so that'll be that. And then number 10, the next meeting is December 17th, 2024.
Are you
And
good with it that week?
pardon?
Are you good with it that week? I know some people
Yeah.
might be doing holidays by then.
No, I'm
I'm
good.
good.
And I think that people have gotten used to it being the Tuesday, that they're Tuesday, right? So we move it and
Okay. Motion to adjourn, number 11. Wants to move? Move it. Dawn moves. I'll second. Favor, yay, okay. All right, we'll see you next time.
Half an hour.
Yeah.